Hi, welcome to the Dixon on Disney Archive. I'm Jeff Dixon. I'm your host. We're actually hanging out in my office and we're looking at Disney memorabilia, stuff, collectibles, whatever it is that I have tucked into the office. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it and what it means and maybe make a point with it. Maybe not. You never know. But today we're going right here to this shelf. I know that you've probably seen this in the background, maybe in some other episodes. These are some miniatures that come out of the theme parks, Disney World and Disneyland. Today we're going to go to this particular piece. This is the Disneyland House of the Future. Now, this collectible piece is a piece done by Bob Olszewski, who has done Disneyland, Disney World, and a variety of other things. He also has a son who has done the Boxes of Light collection that are out that you might have seen. And these pieces are just basically pieces of the theme park. Now, again, for those serious collectors out there, and maybe one of you watching is a serious collector, you know this better than I do, you actually can buy a big base that allows you to put all these pieces into it and light them up and do some pretty crazy things with them. And that just means that you got some obscene money to spend. I just want you to know that. And you can call me if you want. I'd love to see what you're doing because these things are not cheap, but they're very, very cool. This one is based on the House of the Future that was in Disneyland. It has a cool feature on it. If I can find the switch on it, it actually lights up. I don't know if you can see that or not. But, so it lights up inside, so that's pretty cool. And looks pretty neat. Now, this showed up, though, in Disneyland in 1957. So shortly after Disneyland opened, Walt got Monsanto to sponsor this House of the Future that people walk through and that they would look at a house, and this was what a home was supposed to look like in 1986. Now, remember, they put it out in 57. This is what the home of 1986 was supposed to look like. Now, I was around 86. I didn't live in a home that looked like this, and most of you probably didn't either. So they were being extremely futuristic in their vision at the time. But when you walked into it, there were things that were in that home that in 57 just didn't exist. I mean, things like dishwashers and recessed lighting and things that would pop up out of the cabinets for storage and disappear inside. I mean, it was a very futuristic look at how things were going to be in the days ahead, even things from wireless telephones and just stuff that we would take for granted today and look back at that and go, okay, well, that's not real futuristic, especially, if it's thinking about 1986, but at the same time, it was incredible in its day. By the time this closed in 1967, over 20 million people had gone through it. Imagine that, 20 million people went through this walk-through attraction to take a look at what the future might look like. It was built out of a material that I'm sure there's a much more scientific name for it, but it was really not built out of material that normally they would build things out of. Think of a glorified megatote. The kind of plastic tote that you store stuff in. That's what they built the house out of. And it was so sturdy when it came time to tear it down, when they brought out the wrecking ball to destroy it so they could put something new in Disneyland, which they did. When the ball hit it, it bounced off. And they couldn't destroy it. They finally had to get in, and basically they destroyed it by crushing it into small pieces so they could finally move it out because they couldn't destroy it with wrecking balls. They kept bouncing off. It was so durable and sturdy, it would not be destroyed. How about that? Now, I live in Florida. Maybe we ought to build homes like that here in Florida and make them hurricane-proof. That might not be a bad idea, especially if you live on the coast. If you patent that idea, call me too, and I would love for you to tie that money to the church I pastor. But neither here nor there. It was a futuristic, brilliant, awesome idea. And so Olszewski has caught the Disneyland history with that and showed up in this little piece right here. A few years later, a concept similar returned to Disneyland temporarily in 2008. Was not built of the same material, not quite the same idea. This was the birthplace or the genesis of the Exit to Space Mountain when you went to visited the home of the future on your escalator ride out, on your moving sidewalk ride out of Space Mountain. That's where the inspiration kind of came from. It also showed up in House of Mouse in a cartoon at one point. So the concept has been a Disney concept for quite a while, but this is a recreation of what that little house looked like. And so some of you, even who are watching this, may have seen that. This piece is a limited edition piece, like they all tend to be, and they're a lot of fun to collect. And so if you've ever seen one or you see one out there, they're available. You can occasionally find them in theme parks. If not, you pick them up on eBay, or you can bid on them through different auction houses and things like that. One of the things that it reminds me of is that history that Walt had, where he always was looking toward the future and wasn't afraid to look to the future, and at the same time loved the nostalgia of the past. Sometimes the culture and the world that we live in is fearful of the future. And it is my prayer that you face your future with hope and have an outlook on the future that knows that it's not always going to be easy, and change is never easy, but in the midst of change and difficulty, there is something to look forward to. I believe with all of my heart that one of the reasons that people were fascinated in the 50s and 60s with this house of the future is that they were looking toward the future with an optimism of what could be, what was yet to be discovered, and what life might be like in the days ahead. It didn't terrify them, didn't cause them to live in fear, but it caused them to look with hope. I think that for us as people, if we can instill that kind of hope in others and let people see in us a confidence for the future, knowing that things will be different tomorrow than they are today, they always are. But we are designed as people to keep moving forward. We're living, breathing time machines. And you started moving through time the day you were born. And it doesn't stop until the day that you're done breathing. And so embrace the future. Don't fear it. That's how Walt did it. That's how you can do it. And that's what the house of the future reminds us of. Even though they discovered that the future wasn't so easy to get rid of. And that's probably another lesson. The future's coming. You can't get rid of it. It's going to be there. And so you might as well embrace it and learn to live it and enjoy it. Thanks for joining me here in the Dixon on Disney Archives. I look forward to seeing you next time.